the hard part about that too is, we just get in the day-to-day rhythm of things and like it just is like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And we had like, I wouldn't even say a conflict, just like a situation arise in the team where like one person saw it one way, one person saw it this other way. And it came back to like, I pulled out our core values and I was like, what's important here? Like sometimes we overcomplicate things and we just think we have to find the answers or find the stuff, but it's like, let's just go back to that, the basics again.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way. Welcome back, you guys. We're back on Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast, and I've brought Dr. Rachel back on, and she's one of our awesome coaches with TRP, and we are going to have a discussion that we both feel is very relevant about keeping the heart and soul in your practice as you continue to grow and scale and add more people. And I know kind of this like internal angst sometimes of like, as the team is evolving and the mission's evolving, like sometimes there's like this pulse you've got to check in of like, are we losing what makes us us? And like, how does this feel as we keep stepping into the next iterations and the next layers of growth? So Rachel, I'd love to just ask you, as you've been scaling for a while now and your practice keeps evolving, like how do you kind of do that dance in your own mind and heart with like where the next levels of growth come from and how you steward that and just keep it still really centered around what's made you successful to this point?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me back. These are always just fun, rich topics. And it's fun too when you send me a topic, it really also helps me grow because it made me reflect a lot. And this topic is really fun for me to talk about because as I reflect back on like when I first started practicing over 11 years ago, I kind of like when anyone talked about like your core values and your mission, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but like put that back. Like it was just like it was to me, it felt fluffy. It was very much like I understand why you need them, but I really never understood like why that should be truthfully your core and your center.
Mhm.
Um, and that's still evolving, right? And so, that's my favorite part about when you dive into this stuff, because as for instance, we always say too, is like you never just like end. We never just meet the destination of stuff, and it's constantly evolving. So I think this is a really cool thing to be, let's say you're a bill doctor opening your practice yesterday, right? Like it's exciting and you have these great visions, you have these great stuff. Or let's say you're, over 10 years in practice and how much that's changed too. I think that's so important is to remember is like you constantly need to come back to this and come back to your, your core values and your why and your mission and all of those things. And I'm sure with you too, Dr. Lona, the more people you coach, this isn't unnatural to hear. Like everybody, a lot of people, it's hard to talk about this. It's
Right.
hard to keep this at center too. So it's great to reinvest in this and constantly be re-involving in everything.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I think honestly, the larger the practice grows or the mission grows, as maybe you have multiple practices or what have you, almost the more critical this like barometer of the mission, the values, the substance of like what has been the lifeblood of the organization up until this point becomes even more like the lens through which we measure what direction we're going to keep growing in. I know for
Hmm.
me, in our brand, as we've evolved through multiple practices and now the school-based practice, as well as now serving chiropractors, like I love human potential, right? So if it's about people growing and evolving and expanding, especially from a more energetic standpoint, like that geeks me out, right? So that's why I like playing in all these areas. But from an actual like practice scenario, like one of the things that I feel resonates deeply with my team, with myself, and that's why we've attracted each other, is just like this like deep held belief in that the body is self-healing, self-healing and sustaining, and that we can like really learn to trust our body. And so that lens, like if we were going to bring in another practitioner or rent space to someone and they didn't hold some of those core values, as well as the potential of like what chiropractic offers someone, like so like for instance a mechanistic chiropractor would not fit well on our team, right? That would be a lens where it's like, yeah, there could be growth by adding this person, but they don't fit, and that is the measuring stick, right? So I was saying this with one of my other clients in the last week because they're going through some soul searching with somehow their team has really deviated from what was the original mission, and there's been some mutiny on the ship, if you will. Um, and so he was discussing with me like if someone should be allowed to stay. And I said, like, at the end of the day, if you can't walk into your space and feel really good about like everybody that's in there and the energy, doesn't mean that everyone has to be 100% all the time.
Yep.
If you're questioning that, then it like waters down the essence of what, the brand really is. And so I think there is on some level like a zero tolerance for that. And that to me keeps that energy pure so that the like core values of the business and the mission and what we're stewarding in this world stays so like potent.
Yeah, and I think the hard part about that too is, we just get in the day-to-day rhythm of things and like it just is like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And we had like I wouldn't even say a conflict, just like a situation arise in the team where like one person saw it one way, one person saw it this other way. And it came back to like I pulled out our core values and was like, what's important here? Like sometimes we overcomplicate things and we just think we have to find the answers or find the stuff, but it's like, let's just go back to that the basics again. And like I think you taught me this too. It's like, if that's the center of it, it's the center of it for your patients, for your employees, for your systems, it's for your procedures, it's for any change you make. It's like you go back to like, is this still what's at heart here and what
Right.
is our center with it? You know what I mean?
Mhm. So true.
It's
Yeah.
easy to forget.
If you're the CEO or the business owner, you are the one stewarding the vision. Now, your job is to steward it in a way that other people catch the vision and they get excited about the vision and that it's now their shared vision, right? Like it's a shared vision. But I find that sometimes because we are becoming a more diverse organism as the practice evolves, right? There's more people, there's more maybe systems happening simultaneously to make everything happen. So we become more complex, right? That sometimes, depending on what wing of it that we're working on, the complexity or the details can almost become more important than the actual like essence of why we're doing this in the first place, right? And that's always kind of like a timeout moment of like, wait a second, let's not lose the forest through the trees, right?
Yep.
Um, and that I think is a big part of our job as the like owners and the visionaries for the practice is to always make sure that that piece of it is brought into the conversation because it also gives people permission to just have, I think, regroup themselves. So, like, wait a second, like, it's all good, right? Like, the details aren't going to capsize the whole thing that's happening here.
And the
Mhm.
universe is like constantly going to test you with that,
Right.
whether it's your employees or also you'll have like all these patients that are just like, challenging your care plans or challenging your recommendations. And you're like, what is happening right now? You know what I mean? And I think those
Yes.
are your natural tests of just like hold that still and hold that steady because like that test is not for the patient to get the right answer. It's for you to be like, nope,
Mm,
this is what's happening. And that sometimes can be just a struggle because we naturally just want to make people happy and we want to like do what we can. But it's also like without taking that away, though, that heart centered, it's like, no, this is what you actually need, and find
that's good.
enough of it.
Yeah, well, what you kind of alluded there too of like the tests, right? The tests and practice. I think a lot of times as we grow and we expand, then we also receive kind of contrast and feedback to test whether we're ready to like really stay grounded and rooted in like this next level of our expansion and teaching our team how to hold energy steady even when something, comes up. And this is where like, in TRP we teach a lot of strategy and metrics and understanding and truly understanding the different elements of the practice from a very logical place. And so business needs to have that both this like left and right brain thing happening where we understand how important energy is, understand how important intuition is and like the essence of the values and the mission and whatnot. And at the same time, have a left brain like conversation about like how are we going to walk this out, right? But both are probably equally yoked and really, really important. And one without the other is certainly not near as exciting and as able to grow, that's for sure. Uh,
Yep.
what has your evolution been there? I like what you said there, and maybe this is like our yin and yang conversation here too, where you're like, I was very much more logical. Like, don't make me go over and have this like more esoteric and like other conversation. And as you've learned to balance that out, like, what have you noticed for yourself?
Yeah. And like, so I mean, one thing, like you and I have known each other for a long time, and you have always been that like mission, values, follow your energy, follow your heart, listen to that. And I'm very like analytical. Look at the numbers. What is it showing? Like heart versus hands and feet and all these
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And so I feel like for me, like that's why I do love getting things down to the basics of like heart, head, hands, feet, because it's not just one pillar, it's all of them that hold it up, right? And so for me, and it's fun because like I was laughing and smiling because I look back on this that I just did I don't know if I didn't find it fun or exciting or life-giving, but I don't think I understood the value of what that provides for my team, myself, especially myself. I think I was really like, limiting myself by not having this as like the container or the safe space for the patients in my practice. And then just like being able to just dive down and how many levels you can go with that, like, your mission for your business and your staff, and then creating like your perfect patient and creating that energy and that flow for people is something that the more you really dive into it and get specific with it, like they want to flow with it.
Right.
And
Mm.
I think I really had to understand that because, of course, when you're in growth stage of business, it's scary. It's you look at the numbers and you look at all of, what needs to happen next. And sometimes it can get distracting of really coming back to like, why am I doing this? And I think that's why
Yep.
burnout happens is, if you're a one woman team or one man team or two people, you don't do that because it's like, well, I mean, we already know it. It's already done. And we just need to work on like, where are we getting new patients or like, why are people falling off in reports? And so, we always start every single one of our monthly meetings, our quarterly meetings, and our yearly meetings by getting the heart down. We talk about our core mission and our values and our wins and what are the great things that we're really doing here. And that always is our like base for everything else on top of that. That
Mhm.
never was a thing probably 5 years ago at all.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. I notice myself that if I stay too long in the logic, it is depleting for me. This is just me personally. I really need that element. And sometimes it can be the part that helps me realize, like, oh, exactly what needs to happen. So then it can feel really good. But if I think I always have to be the one that figures it all out, that's the part that feels heavy versus realizing, wait, no, my real job is to dream. And then, yes, I need to use logic to help figure out who else could help me figure things out, but maybe I don't have to be the one that always is like directly coming up with the idea or having to logically always have the answer. And so this like playing with those energies too of like, okay, and if I didn't have to know how and instead had to just dream about what would the next iterations of our practices look like, or what do I want my life to look like? And then ask myself the logical question of like, and if that was going to be true, who do I need to like hire? Or who do I need to know? Or what kind of advice do I need to get? Or if I do know the answer, how soon can I like execute on it and then actually put that into motion? And that's where that like dance between intuitive and logical has become like a lot more playful for me versus getting stuck in one side or the other, I would say.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What would you say is like your biggest challenge with like higher volume, maybe multiple doctors, and like creating that, making sure it's patient centered instead of like,
Mhm.
again, there's so much happening sometimes when you get to that next level that you can like forget and
Mhm.
even be like, that person's had 20 adjustments and I don't even know who they are. Like, how
Right.
do you keep that like fresh too?
Yeah, so there's some like little tactical things that made our team a lot more organized. I would say number one, we knew that like before, if we didn't always have a picture on file for somebody's face, like that became like critical, right? Because we're not all meeting people early on necessarily in their first few adjustments. And so having a visual representation of the person, not just their like EMG scans and whatnot, was like a critical like tactical step. Obviously, our huddles and our doctors' meetings became so much more important too, because depending on who is in flow that day for doctors that'll be adjusting and who's on the schedule. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't recognize some of these names. Like I need to like make sure I've boned up on who's going to be in the office if I'm likely going to be one of them adjusting. So just again, more strategic organization to things to make sure that our care is coming across as still just as good as it was when there was less docs involved.
Mhm.
Um, and then a lot of it with my team, and I've always had younger docs, so we're a team of 5 or 6 docs now. And so, really making sure everyone gets fed, meaning fed sometimes means work on their hands on. Sometimes fed means like just instilling trust that they know you trust them because in my mind, I don't look at my team like anyone's necessarily better or worse than the other. Now, we may have certain people that have certain skill sets where they're like really, really developed in a certain thing or great at a certain type of adjustment. But I forget sometimes that the younger docs are coming in feeling like, well, maybe I trust that Dr. Lona can do this, but I don't know if I trust that I can do this,
Oh,
right?
for
And
sure.
and I lose sight of that sometimes, like just how much we
Mm,
speak life into each other. And that, when I, for instance, would praise someone or like, that was a great adjustment, or like, you did an excellent job communicating there, or like, I know that felt challenging, but let's just unpack that,
yep.
that's the type of stuff that really helps people step more into their confidence, which is exactly then energetically what transfers to them when they're about to like see more people in a day than they've maybe ever seen before. And
Right.
I'm not afraid to help my people step out of their like
Yep.
comfort zone, because I do trust that we've all had to do that, right? We've all had to step out of our comfort zone and we all lived and like it actually made us better, right? So I know for some people that's like, okay, great. She's going to push me out of my comfort zone and I'm ready. I want that, right? And then for other people, it's like, ah, I don't know if I can do this, right? And either way on our team, we're gonna offer that to you. So, and then we'll unpack it. And that's maybe an action step too, is just whether it's a doctor that has seen more people in a day than they ever had before, or somebody goes on vacation and now like the whole team gets squeezed a little bit. Like I want to unpack that really quick while it's fresh so that everybody can learn and kind of shape shift into that, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you when you think about like bringing on the docs and instilling them that you're confident in them?
I mean, I think, like you said, it really goes back to down just like having those simple, like real life check-ins and real, and not even like making sure your like meetings and your huddles with like your doctor and your staff are like actually happening and they're intentional too, And I think that's a really big focus is just highlighting the little stuff can be just a huge part of it. And that's keeping it patient-centered, right? Like really making sure we're talking about our patients and making sure they're like hitting where we're at and not just checking the box and then moving on. And then also like creating that accountability for your team too, because if you don't give it to them, they probably won't ask because they don't know for sure what you want them to do. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think you're right. Like, if someone came and listened to your huddles or our team meeting, there's elements of that certainly are like exciting, like we're talking about wins and things like that. However, most of it is tactical. Like, what's about to happen? What do we need to know? Like, what details need to get put into this person's EHR system so that everyone's on the same page, so that like the whole fluidity of things can just go really smooth, right? And as Dr. Franson says, like, smooth is fast, right?
Mhm.
You
And
know,
your
and
patients
for a
feel
lot, what's that?
that. And your patients can so much feel that. Like, my favorite comment when people say is like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, we talk about you. We know these things. And I think that's a really big thing too. Like, yes, a team huddle every single shift can just be like, "Ugh, another huddle." It doesn't take long though. 7 minute, 5 minutes to go through 100 people is no big deal. But if you say one word about them and everyone's on the same page, it makes them just like, those are the little things that keep patients with you for hundreds of adjustments too.
Yep. 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 I totally agree.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about this as you're speaking because I imagine that you feel the same. Like I look at it like I want practice to be fun. Number one, selfishly, I want practice to be fun for me. Like I'm here to have a good time and to serve people in the process, right? So if something becomes not fun, doesn't mean that we like can't have moments where it's like, yeah, this is, do stay the course, do the grind, but also like it should be playful and fun and like uplifting. And that's the type of energy that I want to work with. And so anytime we deviate much from that, like that's something I'm quickly like paying attention to and trying to lighten the load for people. Cause I'm like, if work isn't fun, then what are we doing? You know? Yeah.
That's so true.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, I was actually helping a doc that's moving into open adjusting, right? And I said, okay, here's one of my favorite reasons open adjusting is awesome. And it's that most people don't need to be speaking their limitations out loud any longer, right? Like that's putting energy out there of exactly what they're trying to get rid of, but they're just continually putting more energy about their complaints. And that doesn't mean that we can't listen to our people. So hear me that I'm not saying that. It's
Right.
just that, and I know you know what I mean. It's like, so in open style adjusting, not that people won't tell you things, but it is less probably than what happens in certainly a closed room scenario, right? And so in patients where we're actively trying to get them to change and to shift and like change their language even about their bodies, change their perceptions about their bodies, open adjusting, I think can really help that. And I think the same is true with our team, right? Like if we've gotten in a rut
Mhm.
where we're, stuck, right?
Yeah.
Your job as the owner is to realize, like, whether it's through a values conversation, coming back to the mission, or going out and doing a team building thing, or something that just spices the energy up to get back to the place that feels fun in the practice again. And then lo and behold, the practice grows, right? So it's this like intuitive self too of like, yeah, we could stay in the logic, but maybe we just all need to go have some fun. And then the practice is going to grow again.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And we're laughing because we know it's true
Right.
too. Yeah. And to recognize that, like, I know, and we talk about A players and team and stuff like that, but like there's nothing better when my team, like when someone's like, I can tell something's not good. I can tell the energy's off. I can tell there's something there. And like, making it a safe space for your team to call that out and be like, what's up? You know what I mean? It's not one person, it's not one problem. It's like there's something happening that we just need to call out and be like, we need to get this back to like again, our heart. Where are we at? Are we all on our hands and our feet and we're all over the place? Or we know what's
Right.
really going on? And it's usually that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Or it's something that's just by having clear communication, you're like, oh, I understand you and I perceive this differently. And now we're on the same page. Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So true. Well, I know you're about to go have some fun with your team, right?
Yep.
That's just awesome.
Yes.
So, in any parting thoughts, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, maybe like I've let practice become not fun or I've gone off path again, like any things that you would tell people to just like reconnect to their mission or their purpose and having fun in chiropractic and stewarding more people towards it.
Yeah. I think when I think about this, my favorite thing is just to remember again, you're constantly evolving and you're constantly changing. Like every CEO, every business owner, every person has to make sure they're adapting and being okay to be like call it out that like we need to refocus or we need to change or we need to completely clear out and redo something. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. I think that's our biggest holdback is in between your ears and just voicing it out there. So, whether you're in practice for 5 days or 50 years right now, like it's always an amazing thing to rebalance yourself and recenter on and get excited about again because exactly like you said, Dr. Lona, like if it's not exciting, then you need to create some change with it because it is and it has to be. So
Mhm. So good. Yeah, I mean, a 1% change is still a change, right? So like
yep.
any degree of a shift creates a different outcome. And that's, I think, the fun or almost like the game of practice is like knowing that you can create change, but you have to be the one to do that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, you have a great afternoon with your team. And I know we can, okay, what's your Instagram so that everyone can find you too if they're listening, they want to connect with you or learn more about how you coach, all of that.
Dr. Rachel Hovey.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Instagram. Hmm.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks
Well,
for your
I will
time.
see you soon. Yeah, of course. All right. Talk to you soon, hon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, please listen in for this next bonus interview of one of our remarkable success partners. They all help us help more people find the benefits of chiropractic. So listen on.
All right, CEOs, Dr. Pete here in the studio with Drew Grinnell. Super pumped to have him on board and a part of our remarkable success partners. I just want to tell a quick story before I hand it over to Drew, and we're going to have a great conversation here. Today, it's all going to be about adding value to your customer base, helping more people with more specific conditions, generate more revenue for your business, bigger impact, bigger income. We want to help you help more people. That's why we bring success partners in who align with that. Well, this organization was actually brought to us by one of our very own, Dr. Michael Graybar, giving you a shout out. Dr. Michael Grabar has been one of our remarkable CEOs the last 5 years. We've been working together with him and his team. And Michael introduced us to cutting edge laser technologies. He said, hey, you guys got to meet with these guys. Dr. Michael has 3 offices in North Carolina, brought cutting edge laser technology into his business, and they've seen amazing things happening. He's literally blown away. He'll text me like, you're not going to believe the kind of results that we're getting with this technology. So excited. He said, you got to have these guys. So we first met in 2024 at an event out in Denver. And then Cutting Edge said, hey, we're coming on board with Remarkable in 2025. So we're excited to have them as part of our success partner expert division, and to have them as a guest here on our podcast to share with us about what they're up to. Like I said, we would not have them with us if it didn't make sense for you. So we bring them in because we're trying to help you help more people be more successful. That's our commitment. So, Drew, welcome to the show. Super glad to have you on board. And just as we get started, just maybe tell the audience a little about who you are, maybe a little about your company. I think everybody needs to know who you are, and then we're going to talk shop.
Thank you, Dr. Pete. I appreciate it, and we're honored, to be with the team, and excited to be here on this platform with you. So, as you mentioned, my name is Drew Grinnell. I am the Director of Customer Success at Cutting Edge Laser Technologies. Cutting Edge Laser Technologies was founded in 2001, and we have both a medical and veterinarian division. We're focused exclusively on advanced laser technologies. And we have a family of different products, ranging from our most well-known robotic devices to our mobile devices. And we're committed to successful integration of laser technology into practice, whether that's through our customer success team, our marketing team, our support and services. We're there for you. And a little bit about myself, as I mentioned, Director of Customer Success. I've been with the company a little over 2 years now, but my history with MLS Laser runs a lot deeper than just Cutting Edge. I actually was in a chiropractic practice, and ran a laser center, so a business within a business of a chiropractic practice, for over a decade. So I know a little bit about laser therapy, and again, I'm excited to be chatting with you today.
Well, the great thing about these interviews is, I get to know people while y'all are getting to know him at the same time. So that's awesome. 10 years in the chiro space, you already know our industry. You know who you're speaking to. You're talking to chiropractors. You're talking to people that are in the trenches serving right now. And clearly this is something you have a passion for. I love your title, Customer Success. And you said something that really stood out to me, which was the successful integration into these businesses. So I would love to start there because, one of the things that we say regularly on this podcast, Drew, is that, the reason why a business exists is to solve a problem for someone else. And in this scenario, there's really 2 someone else's, right? There's the patients that we serve in our communities, the opportunity to serve them and reach them. Then there's the other, which is the doctor who's listening right now, and maybe some of the challenges that you're seeing. So coming from over a decade in the chiropractic space yourself, and then now coming on board to work directly with cutting edge laser technologies and working directly with providers and their teams who are trying to serve the communities. Talk to us a little bit about, the specific problems that you guys are solving right now in terms of like patient specific problems, but also how you're helping doctors solve some problems that they have in terms of running their business.
Yeah, I would. We'll start with the patients. I kind of always like to start with the patients. As we know, MLS laser therapy is an alternative, right? It's an alternative. It's a drug-free, non-surgical solution for patients in pain, patients struggling with inflammation and edema. We know that patients are seeking those safe alternatives, to those drug shots and surgeries. So MLS is primed for that with an efficacy of 85-90% of patient improvements. It has a really solid track record with that. When we turn our attention to the doctors and the chiropractors, as we know, it's no secret, right? Declining reimbursements have been a thing for quite a while now. So MLS laser therapy is a self-pay treatment modality. It is a class 4 laser without the risk of thermal damage. So if you know anything about class 4 lasers, most of them, if used incorrectly, can potentially cause some damage and cause some harm. Whereas our unique patented pulse, our MLS pulse, standing for multi-wave lock system, it goes in without that risk of thermal damage. We have synchronized wavelengths, an 808 and a 905, that are locked together, that reciprocally reinforce one another for a homogeneous delivery, driving those improved results. And I would say another solution that we provide is a standout feature of our flagship device. Our M7 device, which is relatively new, has a robotic delivery system. So it's primed to improve outcomes, number one, but then also workflow. So the robotic feature provides a precise delivery of energy going into a specific area. So when we're talking about dosing, if you were to use just a handheld device and you were to scan that back and forth, there's no way of really knowing, no matter how good you are, that you're getting a consistent delivery of that energy. But with a robotic controlled device, you ensure that consistent dosing throughout that treatment area. And the other aspect is the fact that because it is robotic, because it is unattended, you have a staff member that can set that up. And then the patient sits there for 6, 8, 10, 12 minutes, whatever it is. And that staff member can go and they can address another issue at the practice, whether that's collecting payment, answering the phone, maybe setting someone else on a different treatment or a different therapy at the practice. So a funny kind of little thing is it's kind of like you have another employee at the practice that's extremely consistent in its delivery.
Wow, that's, I think all of us are in this world of, AI, right? That's the biggest, thing right now. We're all acutely aware of it, and it's everywhere. You're bringing in another thing with robotics. So it's one thing to have an AI version of yourself or an AI bot that can do a lot of the things, but for you guys, bringing in the robotic component, which we've seen this in the medical world with the robotics in terms of surgeries. I know that's been something that we've seen, but to now bring that type of technology and capabilities into the chiropractic practice, that really speaks to the concept of leverage that we're always talking about, which is, hey, I know a lot of chiropractors that would say, hey, I'm not going to bring this in because I'm already having a hard enough time with my staff and it's just adding another person. So yes, I believe in your service. Yes, that sounds great. We can help more people. We have declining reimbursement. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me. This piece is very intriguing because you're actually talking about not adding more manpower necessarily. I mean, you definitely have to have a person to be able to set someone up, take them off, and there is going to be those transitions that require support. But in terms of not needing that person to be attending for whatever it is, 6, 8, 10, 12 minutes, whatever that frees us up is huge. And then number two thing you said, which was, user error. We actually see that reduced, if not eliminated, because of the consistency that can be executed with this, with the unattended, staff, with the robotics. It gives that precise delivery consistently. I think that's speaks to a lot of the concerns a lot of our practitioners have, because of course a lot of them are control freak perfectionists, Clydesdales, we like to call them. So they just be like, I'll just do it because I could do it better. But it's like, actually, in this scenario, you might not be able to do it better, even yourself. And I think that to me is very attractive because so many of our doctors who we work with, they struggle with letting things go and delegating. Can you talk a little bit about what does it look like to integrate? So I want to move on to the next thing. So let's say you're listening to this, I'm listening on the other side, which I am. What does it look like to integrate this into a practice? Like talk us through that process from like, hey, we don't have any of this technology in our office to, hey, we want to move forward. What does that look like? Like step one, like step two, step three, all the way up to like now it's up and running and we're serving patients. Like give us at a high level, at least, like think about the customer journey from our side as doctors, but then what does that look like for us?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's let me put this right. Okay. So a practice or a provider, reaches out. We have the necessary conversations. They decide, you know what, this is for me, right? I want to get this into my practice. I want to get into my practice ASAP, right? It's a very simple process. We have someone come on site, train the provider, and train the entire staff to certify them in advancements of MLS laser therapy training from from a clinical application perspective and also from a safety perspective, right? The next aspect is our onboarding journey. So we have a dedicated customer success and marketing team that walks our providers and our new providers through that onboarding journey. So some of the different things that we do is while they're on site, they'll reach out to our customer success team, facilitate an introduction to our customer success team. And then at that point, it's almost as if there's a little bit of a handoff. So then our customer success team will provide them with any sort of templated ads, marketing, any sort of additional clinical application, studies, articles, and things of that nature. We have these different timely, strategic emails that go out to our customers in the beginning steps and in the beginning of the journey, strategically dripped to help them succeed. We call them our customer success ebook series, and it ranges from everything from marketing to business success to clinical application success to allow them to have documented information to help them in any asset possible.
Wow. I mean, I think that, one of the quotes we always say is we live and die in transitions. And what you just said there was there's this kind of like a seamless transition from the onboarding stage where you have the team that comes to them on site and certifies. That's a whole nother thing. I didn't even think about that. You're stimulating me to ask even more questions, but just to think about the thoroughness there, that you have an on-site team that comes, that trains, certifies the team, and then hands them off to your customer success team who's dedicated to helping you become more successful. And there's a marketing component to that as well. Maybe give us a little insight into that set of services. So I got the ebook series. I see that. Talk about the marketing specific. Are you marketing to my customer base? If I have a list of emails that I have of my previously active and my currently active clients, are you helping me put together marketing to go into my community through digital marketing and maybe other paid traditional advertising like mailers? Like, talk us through, what does that look like?
Yeah, at this stage, our marketing content that we provide our providers is more of a templated ads content for them to be able to use and them to be able to customize for their specific target market or any sort of niche advertising that they're going to want to do. So we have a lot of that information and that content that we have through collaboration with our providers and what they've seen successful and what they work. So currently we have something called our Cutting Edge Campus, and it is a portal that's on our website. And as a provider, you get a username and a password, and you go in, and there is a plethora of content in there, ranging from digital templates, videos, ready to use videos that they can use, any sort of imagery that you'd want to be able to use, webinars, studies, you name it. It's on there. Our customers can utilize any of that information, and they can customize that information again to fit their specific needs.
Yeah, it's huge. I love it. We have something similar in our coaching, which is our academy. And that's such a tremendous resource that, doctors who work with us, they can use, their team can go in there, watch a module or two in preparation for a team training. If they have an issue or questions, hey, go to that module, go to the manual, and let's look at what the modules and the manuals say to help us solve our problems. I love that you guys are providing a lot of resource. And it sounds like as doctors are implementing and sharing it back, you're just making that campus more robust. You're just continuing to add more resources to it. So there's just, gold on top of gold for your practitioners to be able to have resources to be more successful.
Yeah, we really do. We are very, very into making our customers as successful as possible. That's why we have the different dedicated divisions of our team. We're actually working on something as well, and it's in the beta version. So we have some doctors that are on it currently, but it's a community platform. And the intention here is for our customers to have a private, safe, exclusive space to be able to collaborate with one another, because let's face it, they're bringing in a similar modality, they're in a similar situation, and they'll essentially be able to level up that much faster by learning from people that have gone through it together.
It's awesome. Hey, Drew, I know that you and I are just scratching the surface on our conversation today, and I hope that maybe there's, some of our listeners who would like to continue this conversation and maybe learn more about how they can, this might be something they can integrate into their practice this year or in the years ahead, because as you and I both know, just the way that healthcare is going, like you said earlier, people are looking for non-surgical, non-drug, non-injection based solutions for their health challenges, and chiropractors are providers who people trust, and who are authorities in natural health and healing. So it's a really great marriage and pairing here. We're seeing that. So can you talk to me and our listeners about how they can learn more, take a next step if they want to know more about you guys? Like I said, you are a success partner with the Remarkable. We trust you guys. You guys are a part of our family, and they can find out more on our TRP website. But what are other steps that somebody could take, would you say?
Yeah, I think a great first step would be, if you want to learn a little bit more, visit our website. Our website is celasers.com. Wealth of information on there. We have something called our Medical Knowledge Center, and it's a robust resource, kind of like a blog, right? But it has all the recent studies, webinars, videos of our providers that, are sharing different things that they're doing, at their practice, and then all the latest and greatest about MLS laser therapy that's out there. They can also reach out, to our team directly, via email, and they can call, our headquarters as well.
Beautiful. We will add the email and the phone number to the show notes. So if you're listening to this right now, we'll have that included in the notes, so you can connect with Cutting Edge Laser Technologies and have that conversation and take the next step. Well, I'm just going to, again, say thank you, Drew, for joining me, for joining our podcast. We're grateful to have you as part of the Remarkable family and as a success partner. And we're looking forward to this great year ahead and helping more doctors help more people. So again, thanks for joining me on today's podcast.
Thank you, doctor. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So that concludes my interview here with Drew from Cutting Edge Laser Technologies. And remember to tune in next week for the next episode of the podcast. Until then, be well and take care, everyone.
Hey Remarkables, Dr. Stephen Franson here. Are you ready to take your practice systems to the next level? Grow your practice, increase your profits. Would you like to have your team immersed in a high energy, inspiring environment where they're trained and skilled up in the complete TRP system? I've got great news. It's that time of year again. It's time for the Remarkable Conversion and Retention Immersion. It only happens one time a year in the US and once in Australia. June 6th and 7th in Orlando, and June 27th and 28th in Sydney, Australia. In this comprehensive training on the complete Remarkable Practice Building System, we cover everything. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, week 1, 2, 3, 4, month 1, 2, 3, 4, year 1, 2, 3, 4, and beyond. Patient conversion and retention. We cover the entire system. What would it feel like to see more of your new patients eagerly starting care and then happily following your recommendations for care? They stay under care because they want chiropractic care. At this powerful and inspiring 2-day event, you and your team will discover exactly what is working today in the conversion process. New patients starting care and staying under care. Building your practice volume and your revenue. Learn the most cutting-edge communications that drive more conversions, unbelievable retention, and incredible referral. This is the best bang for your buck in training all year. Register your team at theremarkablepractice.com or find the link in the show notes below. Join us for a jam-packed 2 full days of intensive training for chiropractic teams that want to grow their practice and increase their profit. June 6th and 7th in Orlando, Florida, and June 27th and 28th in beautiful Sydney, Australia.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.